Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to discuss about EBS volumes. So in our previous video, we have discussed about instant store. So it is also called as ephemeral or temporary, and we cannot start and stop the instance. To overcome all these issues, so Amazon introduced EBS, Elastic Block Storage. So within this EBS, we have again 5 EBS volume types. So let us look into all those. The first one is GP2, that also called as general purpose SSD. So the minimum volume size is 1 GB for this, and maximum volume size is 16 TB for this general purpose SSD. And as we know, this volume performance is going to measured by using IOPS. The maximum IOPS we are going to get for this GP2 is 60,000. 16,000 is a maximum IOPS we are going to get for this. So, but basically, if we need more than 10,000, we are going to prefer another EBS volume type, that is IO1. So where we are going to use this GP2, and we are going to use this for boot volumes and for latency, low latency intensive applications. And for dev and test environment. So if you have less workload, then we can go with this general purpose SSD volume type. So for instance, we are going to get maximum of 80,000 for instance for all the EBS volume categories. So this is applicable for all the EBS volumes. So here is a GP2, and the IOPS, we have a specific ratio for one particular GB. We are going to get 3 IOPS with minimum of 100 and 3000 burstable. Okay, let's understand these concepts when we are launching our first EC2 instance. And the second EBS volume type is IO1, is an API name. So that also that means like it's a provisioned IOPS. So here the minimum volume size is 4 GB and the maximum volume size is 16 TB. So this is for one single volume, and basically this is going to give best performance throughout all the all the EBS volumes. So for IO intensive applications, for NoSQLs, for relational databases, we are going to use this mostly for production environment. And for IO intensive applications, for NoSQL databases, or for mainly for database servers, we are going to use this. And the default ratio is for 1 GB, we are going to get 50 IOPS count. But we have a flexibility. We can specify our required IOPS count. And by using this IO1, we can get maximum of 64,000 IOPS. So earlier this is 32,000, but in reInvent 2018 November, so Amazon doubled this count for IO1. So then the next one is magnetic. So there is no API code for this one. So the minimum volume size is 1 GB and maximum volume size is 1 TB. And for cheapest cost or for low cost storage, we can use this magnetic, and IOPS is not applicable for this magnetic. And For using root volume, only we can use these three, GP2 or IO1 and magnetic. Only these three support to install operating systems. So we have another two types, and these three are SSD. GP2 is an SSD secured solid state drive, and IO1 also an SSD, and this is a magnetic. These two are SSDs. And we have two SSDs, that is throughput optimized SSD. The code is ST1. So that means throughput optimized SSD. So this is minimum volume size is 50 GB and the maximum size volume size is 16 TB. Basically, this one we are going to use for big data operations or data warehouses and for log processes. And the performance is going to measured by using throughputs. So basically we are going to get 500 MB per second throughput. So that's why it is more suitable for big data operations. Throughput is nothing but the message successful delivery mechanism. And the next one is SC1, that is nothing but cold SSD. And the minimum and maximum size same as at throughput optimized SSD, 500 GB, and maximum volume size is 16 TB. And this one we are going to use for colder data required. For example, some data is there, only fewer scans per day, then you can use this. For sequential data, we can go with these, or less frequently accessed data, we can use this, or for sequential data we can use this SC1. So now, so these are the 5 EBS volume types. Again, for root volume we can use only 3, and for additional volumes we can use, along with those 3 we can use additional 2. So now let's launch our EC2 instance and let's look into these volumes. Click on launch instance, make sure you select free tier only. Okay, so I'm going to use a Windows machine to demonstrate this. Windows Server 2012 R2 base, I'm selecting here, and I'm choosing T2 micro, and I'm going with all the default options here. And here, by default, it needs a root volume. This root is going to contain all the operating system files. And here is a size, and Amazon uses size in form of GIBs, GB bytes. So just go to Google and GB2 GIB, you can convert those values. So this is gigabyte and this is GB byte. So 1 GB byte is equal to 1.07 gigabyte. Okay, so when coming to volume type, we have different volume types. So as I mentioned here, we are going to get minimum of 100 and 3000 up to burstable. So now I have selected 30 gigs volume. So that's why according to ratio, I should get 90 IOPS, but with minimum of 100. So I'm going to get 100 here. For example, I'm taking 40. According to the ratio, I'm going to get minimum of 120 IOPS. Input output per second. So now I'm going to give 1000, and here you can see I'm going to get 3000 IOPS. I'm giving 1001, and I'm going to get 3003. So according to this ratio, 1 GB is equal to 3 IOPS. We are getting these values. And throughput is not applicable for these SSDs, and delay and termination by defaultly enabled for root volume. That means when you terminate your EC2 instance, whatever the root volume you have here, it is going to delete along with our EC2 instance. And encrypted, there is no direct option to encrypt our root volumes. So we can use some other options like AMI and we can encrypt that. I'll explain that in another video. So but there is no direct option to encrypt these root volumes. And if you observe here, out of 5, we can use only 3. If you go with magnetic, IOPS is not applicable, throughput not applicable, and we can specify our required size. When we are choosing this provisioned IOPS, and here observe, I have selected 30 gigs, and by defaultly, I'm getting 1500 gigs. The reason is 1 GB is equal to 50 IOPS for IO1. That is a default ratio. But as we know, we have a flexibility. I want to provision a 30 gigs of the volume, but I need 15,000 IOPS count. I can specify that. So that is one of the advantage for this provisioned IOPS. So that's why we're going to use for most of the production servers. And whenever you're adding new volume, and here is volume type is EBS, what is the size you want to add, and here volume type, which one you want to choose. Provisioned like along with our SSDs and magnetic, now we got the HDDs. If you select cold SSD or throughput optimized SSD, the minimum volume size is 500. IOPS is not applicable, and based on the selected size, we are going to get the throughput sizes. So now I'm going to select only 2 gigs and selecting general purpose SSD. So under FreeTire eligibility, we are going to get only 30 gigs of EBS general purpose or magnetic storage. So if you want to be in FreeTire limitation, make sure you select general purpose or magnetic here. And if you observe, for all the additional volumes, delete and termination is not going to enable. If you want to encrypt, we can encrypt all the additional volumes. I'm going to use a default encryption mechanism here, or else you can set it to not encrypted. That's purely your option. Along with your EC2 instance, if you want to terminate this EBS volume, you can select this, then it is going to terminate. Then add tags. I'm going to add a tag, so that is EBS volume lab. And we can add up to 50 tags for an EC2 instance. Then configure security group. I'm going to choose an existing security group which is opened with 3389 for everyone. Then click on review and launching this instance by using a key pair. Launch instance. And my instance is provisioned here. For our EC2 for our instance store, when we go to volumes, we did not find any volume here, but for EBS, we got this volume. And an EBS volume even can sustain an instance termination. So, but whenever you are launching your EC2 instance, make sure you untick the delete on termination. So after your instance termination also, you can still have your EBS volume. Right. So now my instance is up and running. But as this is a Windows instance, when you try to get the password, it is not going to give that option immediately. And it is going to take 4 minutes to retrieve the password. So EC2 config service should come alive, then only we are going to get the password. So I'm going to pause this video for a couple of minutes. All right, so I can get my Windows password now. Get Windows password, and I'm going to browse my key pair and decrypt the password. So here is a public DNS I got. MSTSC, and given that I'm the default username is administrator, and the password, it is an auto-generated one. Click on OK. So then give yes to get connected to this instance. I got connected to this EC2 instance. So now, whenever you're launching an EC2 instance, if you add any of the volume, by default you're going to get that volume. So after launching an EC2 instance, if you are trying to extend that existing volume, or if you are adding a new volume, we need to perform some steps in operating system level. Here you can see I got the C drive and the D drive. This is 2 gigs. So I can start using this now. When we go to volumes, here is the attached volumes. So now, so later on, like just assume you got a ticket to increase this existing one, or else like your manager asked you to attach 5 more GB volume to that existing EC2 instance. So let's do that. So create a volume, and I'm selecting 5 gigs of the new volume, and intentionally I'm creating this in AP South 1B. As this is an additional one, I can encrypt this. So click on create volume. So now 5 gigs of the volume is created in AP South 1B, but my instance is running in AP South 1A. Let's try to attach this AP South 1B volume to AP South 1A EC2 instance. When you try to attach this volume, it is showing no matched running or stopped instances were found in AP South 1A. The reason is, where you have your EC2 instance, your volume must be in the same region, same availability zone. So then only you can attach, not region, sorry. So it's availability zone. So quickly I'm going to create 5 gigs in AP South 1A, click on create volume, and I'm going to name that as additional volume. Okay, so I'm going to add a tag, additional volume. Now this volume is in available state. So these volumes, we can attach one volume at a time to only one EC2 instance. Actions, click on attach volume, and it is showing a running EC2 instance information. Click on attach. Immediately it got changed status to from available to in use. So it's like pen drive. So we cannot connect our pen drive to multiple EC2 instances, multiple computers basically. But you can detach from one computer and you can attach to another computer. Like the same way you can attach to n number of the computers. So EBS volumes also same. One volume can be attached to only one EC2 instance at a time. If you want to attach to another, you can detach and you can attach to another one. Okay, all right, let's move to our EC2 instance. If you observe, so we did not get that volume here. So now let me go to disk management. And if you observe this, 5 gigs of the volume is already associated, but it is in offline. Give a right click and make it online, and it is not initialized. And I'm going to make this as a master boot record and unallocated. I'm going to create a simple volume. So click on next, next, and I'm going to assign drive letter E, and I'm going to format using a file system like NTFS, or you can use FAT32 or VFS. Then click on next and finish. So this option you need to perform only once when you attach to your EC2 instance. Here you can see we got the 5 gigs of the volume, and you can start writing all the data. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'm going to write some data into this instance. Okay, I don't know. Okay, these are my certification documents. So I'm going to write some data here, right? So now that is an additional volume. Okay, so whenever we are launching an EC2 instance, we have selected to terminate the volumes along with our EC2 instance. So let's do that. Before that, if you want to keep any of the data available even after your instance termination, explicitly you can detach that volume. Okay, so I want to keep the data available in this additional volume, but I'm not detaching. Let's understand what will happen. I'm terminating this EC2 instance, and immediately it got disconnected. Remote desktop connection. When you go to volume screen, still it is showing as in use. Now my instance is terminated completely. When you go to volumes dashboard, so those who attached with our EC2 instance, it's deleted along with our EC2 instance. That additional volume is available here. So whatever the one you are creating manually and attaching, you need to delete that manually even after instance termination also. So now they still have some data, like in future if you launch any of the EC2 instance, so within this particular region you can Simply attach this volume to an instance running in this availability zone, then you can get access to all your data. Only thing, you need to make that volume online. That's it. So this is all about EBS volumes. And in our next session, we are going to look into backup copies of our volume, that is snapshots.